Welcome back, focused learners, to The Explainer. Today, we're bringing sky-high energy because, well, we are unpacking a truly fascinating manual. We're talking about a guide that literally distills 3,000 years of history into a comprehensive playbook for ultimate control. So, let's get right into it and map out the architecture of influence directly from our sources.
We're looking at Robert Greene and Just Elfers's landmark book, The 48 Laws of Power. You know, what makes this text so historically significant is how it meticulously synthesizes the philosophies of absolute strategic giants. We're talking about the brilliant minds of Machiavelli, Sun Tzu, and Karl von Clausewitz, all brought together into this one overarching framework.
Okay, let's dive into this. This book has an infamous and, honestly, highly controversial reputation. It's explicitly designed as a playbook for anyone interested in gaining, observing, or defending against ultimate control. So whether you actually want power or you just want to arm yourself against it, this is the guide. The source material itself describes these laws as amoral, cunning, ruthless, and instructive. Now, I want to establish right out of the gate that our goal in this explainer is to maintain an absolutely impartial analytical tone. We are neutrally observing these ruthless tactics as an educational case study. We're definitely not endorsing them, we're just dissecting them so you can really understand the historical mechanics of power.
To make this efficient, we've organized these 48 complex laws into 5 digestible pillars for our roadmap today: image, deception, hierarchy, conflict, and self-mastery.
Pillar 1. Image. Managing your reputation.
You see, power relies heavily on the appearances and the illusions you create. Enter Law 6, court attention at all cost. The ruthless reality presented in our source is that absolutely any attention, yes, even negative attention, is so much better than being ignored. In this world, being invisible is literally the ultimate death knell for influence.
A perfect historical example of this is the legendary American showman P.T. Barnum. Barnum masterfully orchestrated these massive spectacles, but he didn't stop there. He actually went so far as to engineer and spread outrageous rumors about his own attractions, purely just to court public outrage. Why? Because it kept his name in the press. He transformed that constant, buzzing reputation into immense personal wealth.
Pillar 2. Strategic deception and concealment.
The logic here is pretty straightforward. Hiding your true motives keeps your opponents completely off balance. This is perfectly encapsulated in Law 3, conceal your intentions. It's a crucial Machiavellian tactic. Think about it. If your opponent doesn't know what you actually want, they cannot possibly prepare a defense against you. You just leave them swinging in the dark.
And this brilliantly illustrates how things play out at the highest levels of government. The diplomat Henry Kissinger was a total master of this. During tense political negotiations, he would passionately argue for minor concessions, total red herrings that he didn't actually care about at all. This completely drained his rivals' energy and distracted them. That way, they were entirely disarmed when he finally swooped in to secure what he actually wanted all along.
Pillar 3. Navigating social hierarchies.
Survival within existing power structures absolutely requires knowing your exact place. The very first law in the book is explicitly about this. Law 1. Never outshine the master. Breaking this law historically leads to, catastrophic consequences. You might be the absolute brightest star in the room, but making the person in charge feel insecure, that is a fatal mistake.
Just consider the downfall of Nicolas Fouquet, the finance minister to King Louis XIV. Hoping to secure the king's favor, Fouquet threw an extravagantly lavish party, and by all accounts, it was magnificent. But that massive display of wealth inadvertently triggered the young king's deep insecurities. Louis felt completely upstaged. So instead of winning favor, Fouquet was abruptly arrested on fabricated charges, and he spent the rest of his life in prison. He outshone the master, and he paid for it with his freedom.
Pillar 4. Conflict and eliminating rivals.
Again, we're neutrally presenting the source's argument here, which asserts a pretty cold truth of historical warfare. Halfway measures are incredibly dangerous. Enter Law 15. Crush your enemy totally. The logic here is uncompromising. An enemy left standing, even with just a sliver of power, is going to eventually recover and seek revenge. So to guarantee safety, the threat must be entirely extinguished.
Queen Elizabeth I faced this exact grim realization with her cousin, Mary, Queen of Scots.
Now, for years, Elizabeth actually showed prudence. She opted for halfway measures, like keeping Mary under house arrest. But eventually, Elizabeth realized that as long as Mary drew breath, she remained a potent rallying point for Catholic rebellion. To permanently protect her throne, Elizabeth felt she had to pivot to total elimination, ultimately ordering Mary's execution.
Pillar 5. Self-mastery and emotional control. This is really the foundation that holds all the other laws together. You absolutely cannot hope to control others if you cannot first master your own emotions, which leads us to the final rule, Law 48, assume formlessness. So the crucial point is that rigidity is weakness. By remaining adaptable, shedding your ego, and staying emotionally detached, kind of like flowing water, you become completely impossible to grasp or predict.
Look at how Mao Zedong utilized guerrilla warfare. He absolutely refused to let pride force him into rigid, traditional standby battles against a much larger, better-equipped enemy. Instead, what did he do? He divided his forces into highly mobile, formless units. By shedding the traditional ego of warfare and moving completely unpredictably, he made it virtually impossible for his enemies to strike a decisive blow.
Let's move to and see how this builds into something directly actionable for you. We've talked a lot about historical offense, right? But what about practical modern defense? How do you actually defend against ultimate control when you inevitably encounter these tactics in your own day-to-day life?
Well, here is your defensive toolkit. You protect yourself against these ruthless tactics by simply learning to recognize them. If you know that power relies heavily on image, you can start to see right through the illusions. If you know about Law 3, you can easily spot the red herrings in a negotiation. You can protect your own peace by remaining emotionally detached and formless. And crucially, especially in the modern workplace, you now know to never inadvertently upstage your boss.
Which brings us to a final, absolutely crucial question to leave you with. Are you observing the laws of power, or are you a victim of them? Understanding these 3,000 years of strategic history isn't just about the past. It's a powerful lens for decoding the dynamics happening in your office, in the media, and in your negotiations every single day. So, keep your eyes open, focus learners, and use this architecture to smartly navigate your world. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.